Sorry, there we go. Hopefully you should hear me now. Forgot to unmute my microphone. Yes, okay, cool. Yeah, so sorry, thanks again. Hey everyone. I was just saying if you're in US based like me, hopefully you had a good 4th of July. And if you're not, hopefully you had a good weekend. So gonna take a few moments to get going. Oops, I need to update a few of these notes. That's not quite, well, part of it what we're going to be doing today. Um, Notes. So yeah, we're still going to continue looking at migrating to JDK 16, but particularly we're going to be looking at using, I guess you could say how to maybe integrate records with Spring data. So we're going to kind of look at one way of doing it with Spring data and resolve JFR JDK 16 issue. So if you didn't see my, there we go. So updated, well, putting the cursor doesn't mean anything right now, but updated the notes, and that's kind of some of the things we're going to try to touch on today. But yeah, we're going to continue doing the process of migrating the Spring Boot PetClinic app to JDK 16. Particularly, we're going to be looking at a way I kind of looked up since the last live stream 2 weeks ago on how to integrate records with maybe Spring data or just JPA in general. And then also, I ran into an issue with JFR, JDK Flight Recorder, not really displaying as in detail of data as like you would have seen with like JDK8, as I kind of showed from the last live stream if you were there. And we're going to look at a potential fix for that. Hopefully, you'll be able to get through all that, or most of that, or be able to get that actual fix implemented. Hey, Christian. Hope you're doing good. Thanks for joining. All right. So I think with that out of the way, let's see. Guess we have a few people in already, though. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started, and maybe more people will join in as well. All right, so I already been doing a bit of work since last time, particularly focusing on, I said, well, as I said in the notes, integrating records more deeply into this. Like we did a little bit in the previous ones, but it's a very kind of minor area. I'm going to be really kind of looking at how we can use records when actually reading from the database, mostly for read-only kind of scenarios, because of course records are shallowly immutable, so it's not going to be like a normal like JPA or transactional object where you're going to be like pulling something out, making a change to it, and then reinserting it. So we're going to look at how we can use records when you're primarily just going to be looking at only like some read-only data. So within the Spring Boot PetClinic app, one of the things I decided to look at was, well, first, actually, you can maybe see a little bit up here. First, I was looking at the vet repository, but it's doing a join, and I didn't want to quite get into that for that first one. I found visit. It doesn't do any sort of, here's actually the original Spring Bean object that's part of the PetClinic app. It doesn't do any sort of join, so at least I felt like this was a better one to start with, so we don't have to kind of deal with some of that nastiness. Oh, one moment, let me close Slack. Okay. So it will make it a little bit easier for demonstrating what I want to do. So before, there's this visit repository, and also just to give proper credit, so Thorben Jansen, kind of from reading this article here, kind of this is what set me on this idea on what I'm doing, demonstrating in this live stream and maybe future ones, on how to use records kind of when used in a JPA project. But to explain what I'm doing, or GitHub. No, visit is what I wanted. So here in the currently existing Spring Boot PetClinic app, it has this visit repository, which is just a very simple, as you can see, Spring Boot, or not Spring Boot, Spring Data repository. And so our actually Spring Data. So what I am going, and maybe this could be one. So what I'm going to be demonstrating, and this could also be some pretty good information to know, even if you're not planning on particularly working with records. Let's see, let me make sure that I have a good. So pretty much what we can do with Spring Data is, so like by default, it's gonna allow you to do like a save or find by like a record or by a column type, and do a bunch of other things like that. It has like that a way of just by taking the method name of creating its own default implementation of a method, which is really great. And you can also maybe kind of change this up a little bit as well. But one thing you can also do is, believe this is, yeah, you can have like a composable repository where instead of just having like your interface and it extends like JPA repository or CRUD repository or what have you, you can have it also, in this example on Buildung, of like having this like custom item repository, and then within that, you can kind of implement your own kind of ways of how you maybe want to pull out data from the database. And this can be really good for when you're doing some sort of more advanced database read or pull than maybe your kind of standard joins or selects or just normal inserts. Like if you're maybe trying to need to implement some sort of database logic or something like that, this could be a really good use for that. But we're going to kind of use that for this case for using it on records. So we have this visit repository, that's a standard repository, and we're going to keep the save. And we're going to have this visit repository that it's going to extend visit. And we're going to have the repository do visit impl. And then this RO visit repository, RO being read only, we're going to actually have it do the lookup by the ID. Oops. Oh, thanks. Amy. So I think the sound was turned off because of a mistake I made. Forgot to hit the unmute on our microphone. But actually, let me go ahead and tweet that out as well, just to give a better live stream link. Okay, yeah, sorry. I guess I did tweet out the desktop version for that. So, oh, thank you, Nikolai, for retweeting that as well. And let me just QRT his one. Oops. There we go. Yeah, I I hate when I accidentally do that, or like sometimes like you go on Reddit or something, and like someone links to like Wikipedia, and like it's like the mobile version, but you're on desktop, and so it just looks so terrible. It's like, how come they can figure out how to take a desktop link and make it mobile, but then not do the inverse? But yeah. All right. So back to what I was talking about with the repositories and records and Spring Data and all that good stuff. So here we have this custom repository I'm doing, which is RO visit repository, RO being in this case read only. Exactly. Yeah, I agree, Arthur. Um, and so then what I'm going to do in the implementation, I have my JDBC template, and I'm going to then do just a simple, um, simple select from the table, and basically doing exactly what the repository is doing. But now I can then map it to my record visit DTO type. And then the one last thing I was also doing is I'm setting it up to where like, so the repository in class are the repository interfaces in Spring Data. The type it return or the type it's managing, that has to be an entity type. So like here, but of course, JDK record, or not JDK, a record can't be a managed entity type. So what I did then was also I created this interface that's just doing the gets of this from the original Spring Bean class, or the Java Bean class. And now the visit repository, that's what its type is set to. So now it's a visit type, and for any type that's accepting it, that's what I'm going to set it to. So it's always going to be using the visit, but then it's going to have the underlying different implementations of either the JPA entity type or the record type. And actually, one thing I'm going to also do, instead of visit impl, we're going to do visit entity to make it more clear that, okay, this is an entity type. And we'll do then visit record to make it more clear what each of these underlying implementation types are actually doing. So yeah, I was just taking one of the few times where I was like, okay, for my next live stream, wanted to get kind of something done ahead of time, and actually did it though. Just to make sure maybe some of this stuff works though. I'm only got about half done. So we'll see if this will actually work. All right, CD. Oh, actually. And let me know if that's big enough. Or if it's not big enough, really. I think it should be. Code projects. Oh, no. There we go. All right. So that's the project we're actually in right now. Sorry if you hear some noise in the background. Sounds like they're vacuuming outside my apartment building. Or my apartment. And skip test. That probably, maybe once I get some of this stuff more working, one of the things we'll be going back and making sure all the tests and everything work. Looks like I'm not using the right version of Java. Yep, JM cell 16. All right, let's run that. Oh, one more time. right, let's see. Let's see if it actually starts up and everything. All right, so far so good. It actually started up. Why is that advertisement? Oh yeah, that's right. I changed this to 1616. So that way if I was running two instances of this, the one on Java 8 would be 8080, and now this is 1616 because, well, Java 16. All right, so owner, okay, so looks like some errors are occurring. All right, parameter 1 is not set. Yeah, that would be an issue. So it looks like it's saying that this value, well, it's not being set. So what is, oh. Yeah. All right, is this then what I need to do? Oh, no. All right, I think that should resolve that issue. So yeah, I was beginning to actually pass the pet ID into the JDBC template query. So let's try that again. Hey, okay, that's great. So, yeah, it actually then successfully pulled that data out of it and was able to display it. That's exactly what we want to see. Let's see if we can actually add a visit. So yeah, that's set for today. Test visit. Test visit, please ignore. Yeah, so an error did happen there. Oh wait, that's not what I want to look at. That's not going to have the data we need. Column date not found. Okay, huh. Okay, how did that actually work initially? But all right. All right. Actually, is that text bad or was it actually just fine before? Well, so always good to make sure it's plenty big. Very true. Yeah, the how did this ever work? It worked on my machine. It's a 1 in a million issue that seems to happen much more often than 1 in a million or something. Oh yeah, very true. It's an 8. Exactly. Oh man, you're making it way too weird, Arthur. Way too real. All right, visit dates. Uh, let's see what happens this time then. Actually, let's actually do use our test for good. For once, instead of evil. I guess I probably really should have learned because the first live stream I did this. Oh boy, that's a lot of errors. Um, the first live stream I did this, like the test when they were failing, really indicated the exact issue I was running into. So maybe I really should care more that when these tests do fail. Owner service, no qualifying bean. That can't be right. Let's look at this one. Attribute visit. Well, maybe I may quickly give up on using these tests if they're kind of giving me unexpected or weird errors. Arthur, are you going to be at Nebraska Code next week as well? Can't remember if I saw you on the speakers list. Uh, gotcha. Yeah, I guess we'll. Uh, I'm going to be checking it out this time. I guess we'll see how it goes, or I'll be there. So, all right, let's. Okay. Well, was able to add a visit. Let's. That one failed. Yeah, but that'll be my first in-person conference since wow, hard to believe, about February of 2020. Oh, good. Yeah, glad that it actually ended up working out well for you then. But yeah, Nebraska code. But yeah, that's the conference I'm talking about with Arthur here. Next week, yeah, I'm kind of realizing all of a sudden I really need to get my presentations ready. But I guess the good news is for this is talking about migrating from Java 8 or Java 11 to Java 16 or here soon Java 17 um, is going to be well one of my presentations. So actually, this is going to be some really good, or this is actually really good preparation for it. Kind of finding some pain points, finding some like maybe real world usage of it. So it's just kind of feeding into it. But yeah, I definitely kind of realizing I need to get these presentations I have coming up here prepared. But yeah, Nebraska code, and also so July 13th, if you can do math, that's 1 week from today. So actually, I won't be having this live stream this time next week again either because actually I'll be traveling up to Nebraska Code. However, I will be doing a joint live stream with Nikolai, Nipa FX, which probably many of you know, um, on Tuesday of next week. So we'll still have that. Actually, let me actually link to his actual Twitch channel. There you go. So yeah, next Tuesday during his Nikolai's usual live stream time, we're going to be doing a joint one. Yeah, yeah, same here. I think one thing I'll probably be doing also after this long break is actually maybe doing fewer presentations. I know there was at times when I was juggling about like 7 or 8 different presentations, and it was just it was too much to manage, and um, ended up being like some of the presentations I don't know, wasn't always too happy with. So maybe just, try to keep it maybe no more than 4 at any given time, trying to manage, because otherwise, yeah, it just gets too much to try to handle that many different presentations and keep them all in mind. And I don't know, may end up doing more of this live stream or video presentations. Well, no, I mean, they weren't our 7 or 8 new ones at the. No, no, I mean, this was before. This is like, 2019 and on before, where I maybe had like 7 or 8 different concurrent presentations I was actively giving, and I didn't develop them all by any means at the same time, but just slowly added some. But it was just sometimes just too much to manage mentally. And sometimes I just was like, yeah, I'd get up there, give a presentation, and be like, I don't know, I didn't really feel it. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are some people out there for sure that can do that. I am not one of them either. Being able to manage 7, 8 presentations at the same time, or put together that many at the same time. There's definitely some speakers out there who can do that. I'm not one of them. All right. Getting back to the errors. All right. So we're getting a Spring Expressing Language error. Visit new template. Yeah, yeah, same here. Um, yeah, I would run into that, kind of forgetting to like, oh wait, what was the next thing I was gonna say? Yeah, at least one way I did try to do that was trying to get some pretty common like intro and outro elements to my presentations, or at least trying to do some similar topics, just so it wasn't like totally 7 to 8 different completely distinct presentations. But yeah, I there would definitely be times where like I would kind of forget, or sometimes it would also lead to even more confusion, just because um um I'll be like, oh, I thought I was thinking about some other presentation, and then I'm like, wait, actually, this is a different one. And I mean, I'd just be panically internally and trying not to show that on the outside. But no doubt that still probably wasn't the best moments during those presentations. Let's see. So, okay. So one other change then I recently made, and maybe I'll just unmake it, was references and project to kind of make it a bit more consistent. So like I had visit, um, new visit entity, and initially it was just a argumentless constructor. And then within add visit, we would set the pet ID. But obviously the setter isn't part of this interface, and that's because of well, again, records being immutable, so they can have a setter. Once you set the values through the constructor for a record, you can't change them, so it wouldn't make sense to have a setter. So I kind of changed up how this worked, but obviously that's causing an issue with the Spring Expression language, which I think maybe depends upon having a argumentless constructor. Let's see though, if anyone, face palms I'm sure will happen at some point. Those are usually pretty inevitable when I'm involved, but maybe we can limit the numbers. Maybe one fewer every day. uh, if anyone knows if you can have a non-argumentless constructor, or if you can provide a specific argument for a constructor and spell, let me know in the chat, just so I even know if it's actually possible. If not, then we can make a change. because I can't quite remember. So visit, well, actually, we had this great Google machine. All right. Okay, so a property value R can be okay. Okay, so yeah, you can do that. New visit new. Let me make sure that oh, indexing to type is not supported. Okay, actually, yeah. I was going on the wrong error. When I saw new, I was thinking like it was trying to create a new instance, but it was actually the error. Wait, I just saw it. There we go. The error is happening here, but well, obviously a different error. So indexing is a type. It's not supported. What does that mean? Um, so, okay, so we added a new record just a little bit ago, or added a new visit, and it was added to the database, and we can pull it back out. But when we go to add another new visit, it fails. Let's see, find owner. Yeah, okay, so that one. So we can add a visit. And again, visit error. So that is added. But when we try to do it again, then it fails. So okay, so yeah, makes sense. I'm gonna create an update visit form. I think, thinking I have an idea what might be happening. Because it could be a case where I'm wondering if it could be a case, so this is providing a record, but maybe Spring expression language is wanted to be where these are entity types that you can then change and update. That could be it. Let's see. I think I know what I'll do here real quick. Let's stop that one. There we go. Let's see what it looks like before the changes. Livestream code projects. All right. So this is like the original unaltered project, and I'm just going to take a quick look to see what that looks like before, just to get an idea to test the theory. All right. Oops. Localhost 8080, find owners. Oh yeah, so yeah, I added a bunch of extra records. There's kind of working on like a load test for it, but all right, test visit, please ignore. Okay, so yeah, those can't then be updated. All right. So it's not some sort of live thing that they need to be editable or something like that. Oh, wait. So, for pet visits, get visits eternal. So we add a visit. That is being added. What might be happening here? One moment. Oh yeah. Let's go back to the exception we're getting. Let's see which. So it's not supported. So line 54, column 9. Okay, so this is where that's. So first I thought it was up here, but that's not right. It's down here where this error is happening. So pet visits, visit description. So it's saying cannot index it off of it. So it's like, to me, it's saying like it can't get like this ID, I'm thinking, but it does have get ID. And I'm returning the ID here as well for the visit record. So pet ID, ID. And it shouldn't need. Oh. Okay. That actually could be an issue. All right. Forgot to add that in. And I think that's what's maybe happening here. Yeah, so this is new. This new isn't yeah, that method wasn't added. So that's also one thing just to remember as well with records. Like by default, like it will give you like the toString, the hash code equals, and then also these like this date, description, pet ID. These are all being provided by the compiler as well as part of the record. But you can also, of course, as we see here with like the get ID, which is just calling the into ID, you can also add your own custom records as well. And then I'm, of course, then referring to the field ID. And actually, no real reason. This is directly reference the fields, not the accessors. All right. I think that should resolve the new issue. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, one thing I keep wanting to do, I think someone recommended using K6 or something for load testing. One thing I really want to get to at some point then is actually doing some kind of load testing to kind of compare when eventually maybe get some more of this stuff using records to see if there is a meaningful performance difference. Just um, you know, using records to say you use records here, it might sound cool, but what would be the actual real business, real use case? And eventually I want to be able to, prove that, for many cases, for many instances, maybe going through all the work that I'm doing to be able to do records here when it makes sense. But there could be cases where you have maybe some sort of API where it's doing a lot of calls and it's all read only or something like that, to where the potential performance boost we get from using records could actually then be worth it to go through the work that I'm demonstrating here. So it's one of the things I'm hoping to eventually get to in a future live stream. I just haven't had quite the time yet to sit down and put together a load test that could actually begin to kind of prove that out. But I think there should be a performance improvement. So again, if you've seen this in previous live streams, I've already kind of covered this, but so visit record, like records have a lot of specific requirements behind them. So for example, they have a canonical constructor, so a constructor that matches all the fields to them. You can't have any additional fields within a constructor, so I can't do private. So yeah, this isn't allowed within a constructor because records are supposed to be transparent data carriers. So if we were to have another field in here that isn't actually part of the public description of the record, so the record and then the fields are the components, is actually what these are called within a record, then there could be some sort of extra out of bound behavior going on. Also with the constructor, all the fields that are being set are having to be set within that one constructor. There's not multiple constructors that are available. And where this is all beneficial then is that, for example, like Jackson or other serializers or stuff like that, when you're working with records, they won't have to do something like reflection to actually do their work, because they can just call the accessors or the constructor, because they know that actually then accurately represents the underlying data, and that's a lot faster than doing reflection. So when and record or Jackson, like its newest version, or at least a fairly recent version, has actually been updated to support records, and as more of those underlying libraries that handle like JSON or XML or such kind of serialization or marshalling as they support records, I think there should be a performance boost from doing that. And of course, that's part of what we're actually trying then to prove here. I mean, I guess, granted, Could have just done more of a pure test around that without kind of actually changing a already available application, but also kind of wanted to make it a bit more realistic to see what it would be actually like to update an existing application to use records. So just kind of explaining again the theory behind why we're doing, or at least I'm doing all this. All right. Refresh again. Okay. Add a new visit. Test visit, please ignore. Okay. Yep, that was it. The problem ran into, you're just now joining, I just didn't quite see it. So was getting an error saying a Spring expression language error where it was trying to reference this new method and saying it couldn't index it. And the long and short of it was is because before I just made that change, is new wasn't here and now it's available. So that resolved it and that works. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's just make another change or make another one. So yeah, another visit just to make sure. Cool. So adding these visits, it's being added to the database. In this case, it's a simple H2 database, and we're then also able to successfully retrieve it then as well. All right. So for this brief moment, I'm gonna unless if anybody has any questions about records, feel free to put them to the chat and are kind of about some of this stuff. I'm going to, for a moment now, move over to a JDK flight recorder issue. So still kind of working with this application, but if you were here last live stream, there was a weird issue where JDK flight recorder, like if I recorded it with the Java 8 instance of the Spring Boot PetClinic app, I was getting much more detailed information about the objects in memory. But then when doing the same stuff with in JDK16, I wasn't getting as detailed information. Anyways, one of my colleagues, Eric Galen, he reached out to me, he saw that, and he sent me a suggestion on how to resolve that. So we're going to try implementing that fix now to see if I can actually get that to work so we can get actually properly detailed information when we're doing a flight recorder of a Java 16 application. So here's a fix, or here's some information about that. First, I'll show what was the actual issue that I was seeing. Uh, yeah, here's just a few scripts I put together just for setting up like JFR and also some previous work I did. Some of you, many of you may know I do this monthly SIPs, or not monthly, weekly things I call SIP of Java. And so this is some of the work I did where I was trying to do like a load test comparing Java 8 to Java 16. And so that was like some of the stuff I found that like Java 16 had faster startup, would also complete a little bit faster as well. So that's kind of what you see down here below. All right. Don't want to bold it. All right, we'll run this again to get some JFR data, so that way I can show the comparative difference between what is happening. Just again, so if you didn't see the previous um, live stream, you know what I'm actually trying to fix with this one. All right, so I set that to dump on completion. So recording in Java 8 JFR. Okay, yeah, here it is. And memory. Okay, so here in JDK8, we can see, we're getting all this information about the memory, like which classes, how much allocation each of these classes are all taking up in our class. And then, this can kind of give us information on how we can then, areas for improvements. This is pretty typical. So char arrays, that's of course underlying what strings are doing underlying it all. And it's pretty typical that they would be taking up the vast majority of the heap within your application. But then if we do the same thing, if I change this to now use 16. Oh. So yeah, now we're seeing we're using 16. Now, essentially the exact same command. So here we see telling to use G1 garbage collector, but really the important thing is saying, hey, start file recording using the profile settings, dump on exit true. I mean, it's effectively the equivalent command between these two, between Java 8 and Java 16. In Java 8, using Java, or at the time called Java Flight Recorder, that was, you had to unlock the commercial features as Oracle contributed the now JDK Flight Recorder as an open source application to the JDK, and now you don't have to unlock commercial features. Anyways, as equivalent of commands as you can possibly hope, we'll stop that to get the JFR file. Now, open file. And where's memory? So yeah, it's we're not getting nearly as detailed information back. Now we don't really know all the different stuff that's happening. We can't get like a cool little flame view here as well to kind of get an idea of like when things are being used and when they're being destroyed and all that. So, much newer version of Java, but we're going backwards in capability, which obviously isn't good. So anyways, luckily one of my colleagues, Eric Galen, and just so you know who I am talking about. All right, so yeah, Eric Galen, one of my colleagues, he talks about JDK Flight Recorder at Oracle and everything. He saw my previous live stream and reached out and kind of mentioned like how to resolve this issue. So that is what I'm gonna try working on here. Hopefully it won't be too difficult. We'll see how it works out. Let me see what he sent me. One moment. All right. So new JDK object enabled by default. Increasing the text size so anyone else can also read this along with me. It says previously disabled in the default configuration, but now also disabled in the profile due to reduce overhead farther. Okay. And edit the JFC file directly. All right, so let's actually look that up. Wrong page. Yeah, I'm still very much new to using the JDK flight recorder. But let's look it up together. I believe this is 8.0 is what I'm using. And yeah, Eric mentioned it should hopefully be figured. Yeah, 8.0.1. Are you still running into this issue, Christian? If not, like, yeah, if I can maybe just see if about updating it, if like that just resolves it. But he was saying that it maybe should be resolved in 8.1, though it's not clear exactly when that would be released. Okay. So we have to make an edit in our Java home for Java 16. I'll open up a new one. Library, Java virtual machines, GD. Yeah, you're right. I think yeah, it says to use it, and I'm not quite sure. Let's see actually what's the status on that bug. Is it okay? It's resolved and fixed in B82. Yeah, at least when Eric reached out to me though, I thought 8 was the most recent. Maybe I'm just really far behind. Government control. Yeah, and that's I think what I am using here. Um, yeah, I am on 8.01, but I think it's 8.1 is when this is supposed to maybe be fixed truly, but um, then again, let's see. bug ID P2. Yeah. Well, first let's just see what let's yeah, I think you make a really good point there, Christian. Let me first try this real quick to see if this resolves it. And if it does, that'd be at least good one way of seeing it. And then we can also see if it could be just a case where I just need to use a more recent version of either maybe the JDK or possibly Java Mission Control. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit unambiguous in how it's written and at least that documentation. No. Okay. Okay. So, the current problem. Are you asking like what are we working on right now? Or um, so what we're working on right now is that well, obviously the issue isn't just entirely within Java Mission Control. It's obviously a little bit with the JDK or something because with recording something in JDK8, we get all this detailed information back with about the memory, and when doing it with in JDK16, the exact same command, using profile setting as well, we're not getting this detailed information back. So that's what I'm currently working on trying to resolve. So let me go into JFR. Oh, yeah, this is the bin directory. um, wait, what? I'm pretty sure using a very recent version of it. So 8.01 is the GA version of it. This is B 8.0.b2. Yeah, I can't make it any bigger, but yeah, it's 8.01, so it's very recent. Um, so okay. I went into the wrong directory. There we go. Lib. Haha. That's why that wasn't. Okay. All right. Open profile JFC. We'll just use text. Yeah, there you go. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, yeah. So just went into the wrong folder. And okay, yeah. So this needs to be true, and outside TLab needs to be true. All right. Let's see what that does. And we can close it. I kind of wish I changed the name of the file, but too late now. Hey, fantastic. That actually works properly now. So yeah, that's awesome. So thank you, Eric, for reaching out and passing that along. For a second when I'm reading that, I'm like, I don't know how to fix this, but actually it wasn't too bad at all. I actually take this quick moment. So one interesting thing. Um, so a last week, yeah, last week, I did a sip of Java, as I mentioned, that's on upgrading the runtime. And um, so one of the reasons you can consider upgrading your runtime is you don't have to, necessarily rebuild your binaries. Now, often that might be the case if you're going from Java 8 to Java 16. Chances are you're going to have to rebuild because you're going to have probably some sort of incompatible library. But you don't necessarily have to do that. But when upgrading the runtime, you do get a lot of benefits from it. Performance improvements. Probably one of the really big ones is memory footprint. So where I'm leading to with all this, uh, as you can see, or if you've been following this, like I never rebuilt this the Spring Boot PetClinic gap between running it on Java 8 and Java 16, and then we can kind of see between Java 8 and Java 16 the differences within the memory usage. And something that really stands out here, as I kind of mentioned before, is char arrays here. So we've seen that it's taking up a pretty a pretty large chunk of the allocation here within our heap, and then a little bit farther down we also have some bytes. So something that was changed in JDK9, and let's see. I will actually two major things that were changed in JDK9 that kind of really had a dramatic change in the overall memory usage. And this will all make sense soon, I promise. Yeah, it's less memory consumption, but I do want to, yeah, so string deduplication. Oh, actually, that was copied back into um, Java 8, so that doesn't matter. But another one is, I guess it wasn't actually backported into Java 8. I'm pretty sure I'm definitely using a recent enough version of Java 8 as well that it should have been copied back if it was. Where string? No, that's not it. Compact strings. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So this was added in Java 9. Oh, okay. I guess it was also put into 8U2. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, less memory, and I'm guessing also then this. Oh wait, no. Sorry, I got myself confused there. Okay, compact strings. I guess this wasn't moved back to Java 8, or if it is, it's maybe turned off by default. Um, yeah. So, um, all the same, compact strings, just at least get back to what I was trying to go through, is so this was added in Java 9, and pretty much one of the things that was found is that, and we can see here, that most of the heap space within your typical Java application, a very large percentage of it, in this case 60 some odd percent, is just being taken up by strings. However, the char type takes up 2 bytes of memory, and that allows it to cover like UTF-8 and all that, or maybe it expands also to like be 4 bytes or something, so it can cover all the UTF-8s, or whatever current version of the Unicode we're currently using. So like it can cover all that for all the different types of characters out there. However, the vast majority of strings within a typical heap are really just ASCII characters, which can be covered with just a single byte. So, what the compact strings does is that the G1 garbage collector, it's always kind of there running in the background, looking at the underlying objects and saying like, oh, okay, at some point it's going to look at these strings and says like, hey, the string, all the characters within it can be encoded with ASCII. And if it notices that, it'll flag it. And at some point, it will eventually update it to where the underlying encoding will instead be with a byte array instead of a char array. And the end result of that is it's about half the size, or okay, not quite, about 2/3 the size of this. It's just much less now. So, it's about 61% of the allocation, but it's a much smaller percentage now. So that is kind of some of the ways. And of course, like I said, I didn't have to rebuild my application. That's all just like a runtime change benefit you get from it. But that's kind of like one of the big ones that will actually save a lot of memory without you having to do anything whatsoever. So that's kind of cool. At least, it's like you can get a lot of these runtime benefits without having to do a lot of work. All right. Cool. Okay, so luckily that JFR thing went a lot quicker than I was expecting. So with that said, I guess we'll go ahead and get back to the records stuff. And actually, I'm going to go and commit this stuff as well, what I have, so that way you'll be able to go and check out this code yourself if you want to. And let me then show that where you can get this information or get that code. So yeah, Spring Boot PetClinic records, putting that into the chat. Definitely, yeah, check that out. Gonna continue updating this through our live streams or through my live streams. And you kind of just want to get an example of maybe how to implement records in a pre-existing application from before Java 16. You definitely check that out. So we'll continue adding to that along with other Java 16 or any of the features added to Java since Java 9. We'll continue adding to these, but records is by far probably the most significant thing that we can kind of make a change to and add into this application, because there isn't a huge amount of other areas to kind of make a change. I kind of went through it at one point, and there's just unfortunately just not a huge amount of business logic, just because it's a pretty simple POC application put together. So there's not a lot of business logic where you can maybe use things like switch expressions or stuff like that in just the application, that is. So with that said, let's go ahead and continue. So kind of got started here with the vet one. And I kind of just stopped for a moment with this just because it also has a collection. And I am not a SQL person, so knowing how to map this all, I haven't done it yet, but let's look it up. So JDBC. Okay, execute. Okay, yeah, one to many. I think this is what we're gonna need. So the result extractor, yeah. And if anybody's done something like this, where you're doing a row mapper um, on a query where you're also doing a join, just let me know. So far, all the row mappings I've done have been where it's only doing it. It's on queries that aren't doing joins. So yeah, just let me know. And but otherwise, that's what we're gonna be looking on for the last about half an hour of this live stream. Also, if you have any other questions, feel free to put them into the chat, or if there's anything else you want me to check on, we can go back to JDK Flight Recorder. If there's any other questions you had there. But yeah, like I said, that's where I'm gonna be working on right now is adding like just the read-only vet repository now for handling vets for the rest of this live stream probably. So first name, last name, and ID. Okay, so yeah, I already have all those. Is it actually simple? Vet specialties. I think this will work, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, that's an array. All right. We'll go back to Stack Overflow to see if someone has a. Ooh. Okay. Um, but where's the one mini happening? Actions. Is the response just to sidestep the issue? Okay. These, no, those aren't going to give me the answer looking for. Um, actually, result set extractor. On a per row basis. So mapping SQL query. I'm thinking, so I'm trying to use, or I was using row mapper, but maybe I can't quite do that with a join, but I could just be wrong about that. Certainly wouldn't be the first time. Uh, let's see. Console URL. Hopefully the H2 console is already enabled. If not, we'll just restart it with that enabled. I can't quite remember what a join clause looks like. A bit embarrassingly. And I just haven't done it for a while. Yeah, H2 console isn't enabled. We'll enable it. Okay. Enable it. I need to just kind of forget what the result query for this might look like, and actually running this against the actual H2 console and just getting a look at it could help with this knowing how this might be tackled. So H2 server port 88. Okay, that's all good. Yeah, I'll need to rebuild it. I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because that'll be included within the artifacts. I guess I could have just passed it in as an argument. Oh well. Oh, build error. There we go. That fixed that. It's funny, we remember back in first learning Java or any programming language, like back in university, that getting like compile time errors, like sometimes it would feel like it would take forever to fix those, and then when you actually start doing it professionally, like compile errors are always the easy ones to resolve. It's like the runtime errors that are the real problems, the real difficulties to figure out for the most part. All right, let's run this again. Okay, yep, H2 console enabled. Is it admin? Okay. Bound, SA. What is the default JVC URL it's using? Ah, wait. Yeah. So it's saying it's defaulting to test, but that's not the database name that was created. Big. Think so. One thing we can do, but I'm pretty sure it's actually disabled by default, is go to Spring Boot Actuator and okay, so that's up. Okay. Config props. Okay, good. That is all enabled. Normally you would not want to have this enabled in production, but of course, obviously it doesn't matter for what we're doing here, and this is a simple test, local test application. So what I'm looking for here is a name of the database that's being connected to. Really, I can't do a search in this. That's oh no. All right, never mind. We'll just have to look manually. If you see data source or anything in here, just ping me, mention in the chat. Okay, there you go. Data source. Oh, there you go. Oh no. Oh no, it's just there. All right, hold on, let's get back to where I was. All right. All right, so that is the name of the database that we're connecting to. We'll copy that. Yeah, that's why this was failing. I think I may have to still modify. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that should work. No, of course not. Let me get rid of the mem. Oh, okay, maybe that did work. And I just okay, what is it connecting to with? And of course, password would be thought it was admin or SA, but could be wrong. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that. Oh. Ah. Thanks. Awesome. There you go. Perfect. Um, yeah, I was gonna like just pulling my hair out the entire time, and yeah, that's that's all it was. Okay. Select from vet ID. Now rouse. Let's see what's. Let's just do the select star from vets. Okay. Maybe that one just. That doesn't look right. Yeah, that's not right at all. Where did I get that from? Don't. Okay, so yeah, that's right. It says, oh, inverse join columns. And it's a many to many. I guess it would make sense for that to be a many to many. Yeah, I am definitely not a database person. It's like I forget it as quickly as I remember it. Yeah, I might be needing to do a result set extractor instead of a row mapper. That is a one to many. Let's see, I guess to get back to the previous thing of making sure this is correct. Outer join? Yeah, that doesn't help. Because we want to get all the different specialties. Oh man. How do you comment on again in SQL? There is, oh, come on. Oh, is it pound? All right, forget it. Just copy this out. Put this into scratch paper. Just want to see what's in. Okay. I just wanted to see what was in that table. Yeah, obviously a Cartesian join is happening here. Hope I'm not being judged too harshly on my lacking SQL skills. Let's go back to the code. Patch type ear. Oh. 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 Yeah. That's the problem. Duh. Where. Right. Yeah. Well, at least that should work. Vet specialties where. Ah, there we go. And. Oh, yes, the star. Ah. Okay. Yeah, I may have to play with that a little bit, but that's one way of querying it, at least the way I'm familiar with. I always, once I get into joins, I'm like, I remember working with joins a few times here and there, but then I always end up kind of forgetting how they really work. just trying to turn primarily right here. I mean, maybe I'm just kind of going down the wrong route. Just getting an idea what this return would look like, just to see how I could then maybe map it within the row mapper. But really, I think I'm just going down a bit of a weird avenue that might not be actually that useful for my or our time. Result set extractor. Yeah, I just need to do that instead. Result set extractor. All right. Yeah, gonna get started on this. You really need to go probably check out just the joins just to make sure I'm doing this right. I think yeah, we're about 10 minutes left. I think I may go ahead and end it at the live stream at this point. Just do a little research just to make sure I'm kind of going down a meaningful path instead of just uh kind of guessing. But if anybody has any questions, let me know, or any suggestions on the next live stream, which again, as I mentioned, I'll be joining Nikolai next Tuesday during his normal live stream time. I won't be live streaming next Wednesday, as I will be um, traveling to a conference, which will be pretty cool to actually be able to speak in person again. But hopefully, I'll see you there with Nikolai. We'll probably work on this. You know, he may have a pretty good idea on like maybe how to also approach this, and should hopefully be a really great conversation. But if no one has any questions, I go ahead and end it here then, and go and for me and get some lunch. So live streaming, live streaming can really build the appetite. All right, I think that's it then. So thanks everyone for joining. We had like a really great conversation going on there around the JFR stuff, and actually was able to resolve a couple of cool things. And I think I may kind of extract that out and maybe put together like a blog article about what I did with the Spring data stuff. So, all right, see everyone later. Thanks for joining. Bye.